Welcome back for another deep dive, and this one's going to be fun. We're really going deep this time into the life of a remarkable archaeologist, George Mylonas, a guy whose story is as interesting, I think, as some of the ancient mysteries that he spent his whole life trying to uncover. I'm Hari, and I am ready to get my hands dirty with this one.
I'm Kimi, and I'm excited to dig in with you on this. As someone who's spent years studying this period, I can tell you Mylonas' life was really quite something full of adventure scholarship and even some controversy, which all makes him just a really compelling figure, especially when you consider his work at Mycenae.
Yeah, it's like we've been handed this treasure map with all these articles and excerpts from his writings and biographical sketches, and they're all pointing to a life lived right on the edge of history, starting back in Smyrna in 1898, a time and place just saturated with the echoes of these ancient civilizations.
You can almost imagine a young Mylonas growing up surrounded by these echoes, developing this early fascination with the past. And um, according to what we've got, his fascination was really sparked by a chance discovery right in his own backyard, like an ancient burial unearthed by his father's gardener. It's amazing to think that something like that could ignite a lifelong passion, a passion that would lead him to some of the most prestigious schools like the International College of Smyrna and the University of Athens.
It's a pretty auspicious start, right? But of course, history has a way of kind of throwing curveballs. And for Mylonas, that curveball came in the form of the Greco-Turkish War, which not only interrupted his studies, but really thrust him into a whole series of just harrowing experiences, serving the Greek army, witnessing the destruction of his hometown, and then ultimately facing capture and torture.
It's incredible, though. Amidst all that, you see this really defining trait emerge, this resilience, this refusal to give in to despair. I mean, think about it. He escaped captivity not once, but twice. The second time, he actually managed to outsmart his captors using funds that were sent by American contacts. It's really a daring feat that speaks to his resourcefulness and, ability to think under pressure.
Absolutely. And, this escape, it almost sounds like something out of an adventure novel. But what's really remarkable is how this experience shaped his path going forward, leading him to make this pivotal connection with the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, an institution that would become so central to his career.
It's fascinating to see how these seemingly unconnected events converge and shape a life. And this connection with the American school, it was more than just a stepping stone. It was like a launch pad propelling him into the world of professional archaeology, first as a translator and then as their first bursar, which is really a sign of his growing reputation and his ability to navigate the academic world.
And it's clear that he wasn't content just observing the past from a distance. He wanted to be in it hands-on, and that's exactly what he did. He went on to do excavations at sites like Corinth, Nemea, and Olynthus places that are just loaded with myths and legends.
And all while pursuing academic excellence, he earned not one but two PhDs from the University of Athens in 1927, and then from Johns Hopkins just a year later in 28. Talk about a thirst for knowledge. He wasn't just digging up artifacts, he was building a foundation of scholarship, a foundation that would support his interpretations and elevate his contributions.
Yeah, it's like he was unearthing the past and building a path for future archaeologists at the same time. And that path took him to teaching positions at some of those well-known universities in the U.S., like the University of Chicago, the University of Illinois, and eventually Washington University in St. Louis.
It really is an amazing trajectory, isn't it? From the war-torn places of his youth to these hallowed halls of academia, his life really embodies this enduring power of intellectual curiosity, a curiosity that ultimately led him to the site that would become so closely associated with his name, Mycenae, the legendary city of Agamemnon, a place shrouded in myth and just steeped in history.
Mycenae, I mean, even the name conjures up images of these towering citadels, golden masks, stories of kings and warriors. It's a place that's captured imaginations for millennia. And it was there in the midst of those ancient stones that Mylonas would make some of his most groundbreaking discoveries that would reshape our understanding of the Mycenaean civilization and ignite debates that are still going on today.
It's as if he stepped right into the pages of Homer and went on this archaeological odyssey, uncovering not just artifacts, but layers of meaning interpretations that would challenge conventional thinking and spark discussions that continue to echo in the halls of academia, a legacy that we'll continue to explore in our next segment. Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and work of George E. Mylonas, who, as we've learned, wasn't satisfied with simply uncovering the past. He really wanted to breathe life into it, to connect the dots between archaeology and mythology, a pursuit that ultimately brought him both praise and criticism.
Yeah, he seemed to be trying to bridge this gap between the actual physical remains of this lost world and the stories that have survived. those captivating myths that have captured our collective imagination for centuries. He believed those myths held some truth, a historical core, waiting to be dug up and understood in a modern context.
And he wasn't just some armchair theorist either. He was a prolific writer, really skilled at weaving together archaeological evidence with those narratives. He wrote books like Ancient Mycenae, the capital city of Agamemnon and Eleusis, and the Licinian Mysteries, and Mycenae and the Mycenaean Age. And these weren't just these dry academic texts, they were invitations to explore the mysteries of this lost world.
Absolutely. They were like portals, transporting readers back to this time of kings and warriors and gods and goddesses, a time when the line between myth and reality was to be a little blurrier than it is today.
Yeah.
And it was at Mycenae, that legendary city, that he really put his theories to the test, trying to figure out the actual dates for Agamemnon's reign in the Trojan War using archaeological evidence, which is a pretty bold move that got some mixed reactions from scholars.
Oh, yeah. You can imagine the excitement and the skepticism that came with those pronouncements. I mean, here he was claiming to have found proof for events that a lot of people just considered pure legend, trying to ground those epic tales in the hard evidence of, stratigraphy and pottery shards. It was a real clash of perspectives that's still relevant in archaeology today. He even went so far as to say he'd found the tombs of the mythical seven against Thebes at Eleusis, which is a site steeped in ancient ritual and mystery.
It's almost like he saw himself as some kind of detective, piecing together clues from the fragmented remains of the past, using those ancient myths as his guide to uncover the truths hidden beneath centuries of dirt and debris. And he described this vision beautifully, once saying the archaeologist's job was to infer from withered flowers the hour of their bloom.
That's such a poetic way to sum up his approach. But of course, not everyone agreed with his interpretations. And as archaeology evolved and became more scientific and rigorous with things like advanced dating techniques and a focus on data-driven analysis, his reliance on mythology as a primary source of evidence drew more and more criticism, especially from those who saw myths as cultural artifacts rather than literal historical accounts.
It was a shift that reflected a larger trend in thinking, a move away from the more romantic and speculative views of the past towards a more empirical, data-driven approach.
Yeah.
And while some might say Mylonas' methods are outdated, there's no denying his role in making archaeology popular, making it accessible to a wider audience, and really sparking a fascination with the ancient world that continues to this day. His work, even if viewed critically, opened up new ways of thinking, making us rethink the relationship between myth and history and how we understand the past.
It's a debate that's still shaping the field, isn't it? Making us consider the limits of evidence, the role of interpretation, and the challenges of reconstructing a past that's inherently incomplete. And even if we don't always agree with his conclusions, we can appreciate his passion, his unwavering belief in the power of the past to teach us about the present. A belief that fueled his tireless efforts to preserve ancient sites, to mentor so many students, and to build institutions that would carry on his legacy.
He was a bridge builder in a way, connecting the past to the present, linking academia and the public Greece and the United States. It's a testament to the enduring power of human curiosity and the interconnectedness of our shared human story. And speaking of connections, I'd love to dig a little deeper into his personal life to get a sense of the man behind all of this, the person who lived through such turbulent times and became such a prominent voice in his field.
It's an interesting aspect that often gets overshadowed by his professional achievements, isn't it? And yet it's through these personal connections, these glimpses into his life, that we can begin to appreciate the complexities of the man, the motivations that drove him, the passions that fueled his pursuits. After all, at the heart of every great story is a human being. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Georgi Mylonas. And as we've seen, he wasn't just satisfied with uncovering the past. He was really passionate about making it accessible to everyone, sharing its wonders, And this passion really came through in his writing, in his lectures, but also in his work, building institutions that would support archaeological research and preservation for years to come.
Yeah, like he understood that the real value of archaeology isn't just in the objects themselves, but in the stories they tell, the connections they make between us and the people who came before us. And he wanted to make sure those stories kept being told, those connections kept being made, even after he was gone.
Absolutely. And, one of the best examples of this vision is the Mycenaean Foundation, an organization that he established with support from his American network, which goes to show his commitment to both scholarship and community engagement.
It's really interesting how he was able to use those connections, those relationships he built over the years to create something with such lasting impact, not just on archaeology, but on the local community in Greece, a place that obviously meant so much to him. Can you tell me more about the foundation and what it accomplished?
Well, Mycenaean Foundation, with Mylonas' guidance, went on to establish two really important facilities in the village of Mycines, right next to the Mycenae site. There's McCarthy House, which is a hostel for archaeologists, and then the Mycenaean Mellithron, a cultural center that also housed a medical clinic, serving both the researchers and the local people. It really shows his holistic approach to archaeology, recognizing how it could benefit both scholarship and the well-being of the community.
It really speaks to his foresight, doesn't it? His understanding that archaeology isn't some isolated pursuit, but something that's woven into the fabric of society. And these facilities are still operating today, right?
They are. They provide crucial support for researchers and contribute to the cultural and economic life of the region. It's a legacy that's still unfolding, enriching our understanding of the past and at the same time fostering a sense of shared heritage, bridging that gap between the ancient world and the present. And his dedication to accessibility didn't stop there. He was also instrumental in setting up a new museum at Mycenae, a space designed to house and display the incredible artifacts that were found there, bringing those ancient treasures to life for a wider audience.
That museum really stands as a symbol of his belief that archaeology isn't just for academics, it's for everyone, a way to connect with our shared human story, to be amazed by the skill and creativity of those who came before us. I think it's a powerful message, especially in a world that can sometimes feel disconnected from its own past.
It really is. It reminds us that we're all part of this long story, a story that goes back thousands of years. And by exploring the past, by looking at those ruins, deciphering those inscriptions, we can get a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
So as we look back on the life and legacy of Georgi Mylonas, this man who was not just an archaeologist, but a storyteller, an institution builder, someone truly passionate about making the past accessible, what lessons can we as modern-day knowledge seekers take away from his journey? What insights can we carry with us as we go on our own quests for understanding and meaning?
That's a great question. I think for me, one of the biggest lessons is the importance of embracing curiosity, of letting ourselves be fascinated by the mysteries of the world, whether it's the world of ancient Greece or the complexities of our lives today. Mylonas' life really showed the power of that curiosity, the force that drove him through war captivity, academic challenges, and those often heated debates in the archaeological world.
He never backed down from asking tough questions, from challenging conventional wisdom, even when it meant facing criticism or going against the grain. It reminds us that to really learn and grow, we often have to step outside our comfort zones, embrace that feeling of uncertainty, be willing to change our understanding when new evidence comes along.
And he also shows us that knowledge isn't a solo pursuit. It's a collaborative effort that thrives on different perspectives and sharing ideas. Think about all the mentors he had, the students he inspired, the colleagues he worked with, the networks he built across countries and disciplines. He understood that true understanding comes from dialogue, from exchanging ideas, from being willing to listen and learn from others.
It's like he was building bridges, not just between the past and the present, but between people, between cultures, between different ways of seeing the world. It's a legacy that goes way beyond archaeology. It touches on the very core of what it means to be human, to be part of a community, to be engaged in that constant search for knowledge and understanding.
Absolutely. And I think lastly, Mylonas' life really highlights the importance of giving back, of using our knowledge and skills to make things better for others, to make a positive impact on the world around us, whether it's through teaching, mentoring, building institutions that support research and preservation, or even just sharing our love of learning with the people around us. He understood that knowledge is a gift, and with that gift comes a responsibility to use it well, to nurture it, and to make sure its benefits are shared far and wide.
Well said. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and legacy of Georgi Mylonas, let me leave you with this thought. The next time you come across a story that really grabs you, or a controversial idea, or even some mysterious artifact from the past, remember the lessons we've learned from this remarkable archaeologist. Embrace that curiosity, challenge those assumptions, connect with others, and use your knowledge to make a difference in the world. Who knows, maybe you'll even feel inspired to go on your own deep dive into the world of history and archaeology to uncover those hidden connections that tie us to the past and light the way forward.